So you have to understand different aspects. You have to understand different horizons. So when you are in services, you have to have a customer service mindset. You have to have a pulse of a communication that you can actually communicate openly, clearly towards a customer. You can hear him or her and you can convey your message. In my profile in 2014, I was heading the kind of, used to call it as an executive customer support that time. And it was all about managing the CXOs, the CXO escalations, the CXO penalties. So we have a problem in our network. We are delivering the bugs, the fixes, and other things, or we are delivering the features, functionalities, equipments, what the customer wants. But then there are contractual obligations, for example. And if we don't make into a certain period, then we are penalized by those contractuals, those contracts. We call as LDs, right? Liquid damages. So once we have this, and they are actually running into millions of euros, millions of dollars. So the point here is, how do you manage them that we don't get into an LD state? So this is a function of services, how you communicate, how you do problem solving, and then of course a cultural awareness. I sitting in India cannot be at the same way of handling a customer like Bharti and a customer like Du in Dubai. I need to have a different language. Language not in the sense that I will start speaking Arabic, but same spoken English, but in a different context, in a different way, in a different manner. Then technical support. When you are in tech support, so basically you are going to a problematic area where you are getting into bugs. So since most of you or all of you are actually from the management side, and has anyone been an engineering background before coming to this MBA? No. So basically, technical support is where you kind of, do the technical product corrections, I would say. But I'm assuming that since you are not in a engineering background, so you will not enter directly here. Maybe down the line, when you go into a management, then you may venture in here. But basically, you need technical knowledges. You need to understand the technology. You need to understand the product. Customer service is a subset because you are servicing the customers which are internal. Problem solving and attention to details. Why does it happen? Why is it happening? Last not the least is about product management. So product management is that you have a know-how of the product life cycle. You understand how the products are behaving. You understand the market, what the market is demanding. You understand your customers, and you have a consciousness of your business cost. Because if I don't know how much is the cost of my product, if I don't know how much money I'm able to make it, then I'm not a product manager. I'm fooling myself. I have a designation, but I don't know anything. So we keep on saying within our own tips and things. A product manager is actually a businessman. He or she needs to know what I'm making, what I'm selling, and what is the business value of it. So that takes to the end of it. But I'm now open for questions, comments, observations, anything that any one of you have. Yeah, please. Or let's say in most of the developing world, uh, originally the jobs were coming because we were kind of, cost low. We were in lower cost. So there was a cost benefit for the organization. There was nothing else. A work done by an Indian worker was 1/5 of what it was in US or Europe, or even lesser, right? Because they have a benchmark. I have a certain benchmark of how much I am supposed to pay a person who's working for me in US or a person who's working in, for example, in Europe. So that's the first part of it. So now you are starting from a lower part, and then of course you have to move within the change your jobs to kind of do a kind of scale leveling in terms of your remuneration. So I started off with HFCL, like I said. Then I moved to Vodafone, and then I kind of moved into. I was actually having a short stint also with Eric Nortel. At that time, I went to Bombay because I was not allowed to move from Vodafone or Hutchison that time to Nokia because they were a customer vendor relation. So I went to Nortel and then I came back. Coming back to your question, luckily and by God's grace, I have been into different positions where I have been able to make a good remuneration all around it. So Nokia has, like most of the global organizations, I'm assuming, that as you move on and you move to a different career path. So I started in services. I was a system support engineer at that time. 3 years down the line, I became a system manager. From system manager, I went to tech support. From tech support, I started as a tech support expert, and then then at like in 3 years, 4 years time, I moved into heading one of their departments. From tech support, I moved to another profile which was executive support, which is not mentioned in here, but it was having the same kind of support. So the point I'm trying to make is that there are various ways of how you can increase your salaries. Either you change your job outside or you change your job inside. So what I have been doing all my life is that I have been trying to learn new things, and with that I have been either kind of upskilling myself, or I have been moving to different departments, or I have been promoting. And during those transitions, I think the remuneration has been somehow taken care by the company. So I didn't ever felt a need that for my salary should I have been venturing out or not. So that was the reason. I'm not saying that this is a good example, but this is what actually happened. And I see that lot of youngsters, and that was actually a drawback when companies are coming to India because of this salary leveling. Freshers are coming in, moving out of 18 months. So the attrition rate is a big headache for them. So when we are hiring, let's say 100 people in India, and we say that we are saving one-fifth of the cost, but then after 18 months, if 50% of them is gone, my attrition rate is like 50. As an example, it's very high, but the attrition rate is 50. I have to do this again, that I have to again hire 50 guys and do this again. So it becomes like an academy. So that is another problem that organizations generally tackle. So they have started increasing their level in terms of renovation. I agree. So this is something which is, when you are having unique profiles and the requirements is cutting across all the industries, for a profile like HR, finance, marketing, the options are always very limited unless you go up. Because once you go up the ladder, then you can change, then you can move a lateral movement. But within this, you can't do much because your department size remains the same. The vertical remains the same. You can be moving from payroll to some cultural thing in within the HR or somewhere else. So it stays still within the same. You may not be able to see much of it. So for a departments like HR or finance, I think at some point of time, movement could also be an option. But always keep that in mind. I had a discussion like yesterday. One of my employees actually moving out. So I had a discussion with the hiring manager. He's moving within the company. So he was saying that I told him that he just came like 6 months ago, but now he's moving, so it's not a good practice. But the answer that he gave, he was a German. He gave was, I know Amit, but his track record says that he was there for 5 years or 6 years earlier. So keep that in mind. While getting good salaries and other things, changing jobs is good, and that's what the market and your family and when you will be looking for your marriage actually demands. But keep a stability also in mind, because first, you never know when you come back to the same organization down the line. Second aspect is 5 years, 10 years down the line, if anyone would be looking at your CV, he should not see that you have changed like 6, 7, 8 jobs. He will never be interviewing you because your credibility is at very low. Getting me? So there's a bit of a compromise that you have to always see, that which of the weightage I should need to put on. 2 years is still a decent period, but the moment it is like gets into 1 year, because you are initially, if you are changing it for a year or two, I'm sure that you are not only looking at some part only the salary or the renovation part, you are also looking for the designations. You know, your requirements will change what you are today and 5 years down the line. You might start looking for stability. You might like traveling, and if the company you join in gives you a lot of travel, then you might not like to go it because you may save the same or a more amount in your travel allowances, as an example. So you have to look for the opportunities and the angles at that point of time, right? Anyone else?
Can I add something?
Yeah,
Uh,
please. Then I'll come to you. Your name? Shreya. Right.
And how you managed your IM network in your career. What helped you?
So I would say that I am in a top tier one institute. So let's put this way. So for tier one institute, they look for multiple things in terms of course, your percentile score that you get from the CAT. Besides that, during the interview, it's all about the knowledge that you are bringing. They look for diversification. So I met a girl in this synergy get together that we had, Symphony. She was from NIFT, and NIFT girl, flamboyant, and all that stuff. And I was like, what brought you to IIM? You look very different, not a regular IIM kind of a candidate. And she said that the professors or the panel was actually looking for a diversification. She got a good percentile, but she brought a new diversification, not in terms of the gender, but in terms of the know-how. From a fashion industry, she is moving into a management institute and bringing in the diversification. So depending on, after your BBA, if you are actually doing some work, so MBAs are also looking that you bring in some experience, so that you have some industry know-how, you understand into practice what they are teaching. So if you bring in there, and then what it is all about. So if you go into sales and marketing, what kind of company that it is, what kind of sales and marketing you are doing in that company, not you as a you individual, but the company itself. How you are bringing this value to the IM is what they look for. Of course, percentile is, like I said at the beginning of it.
Like, sir, I have a genuine question. Like, sir, in today time, there is a trend of entrepreneur. Like, so I have a question regarding that. That as a college student, what are some early steps for the students to build an entrepreneur mindset?
So, you don't need to read a novel to get to this entrepreneurial kind of a journey. It comes within. You need to have that feel, you need to have that inclination, you need to have that desire. If you don't have that desire, no one can push you. And it's like, we say entrepreneur is a journey full of troubles and full of problems all across. Very few get successful. I'm not saying successful as in the top shots, but the middle ones are also good. But then the journey itself is not that rewarding at every stage. The rewards come at a pretty probably later stage, which we kind of see he has done so well. But then when we look for the journey, is full of surprises, full of troubles, full of other things. So you have to be prepared. So that's what I'm saying. No one can force you. It comes within first.
and maybe one or two questions come in the end. I want to kind of rehash this for the advantage of the kind of students we have. And that also I want it interactive. So, first of all, this last slide I want you to absorb, all of you. Yes, there are some technical aspects when you're talking about technically complex products. Otherwise, these are all the general skills which everybody needs to have. Problem solving, for example, is the major skill which you will need to have. Now, the question is, does any one of you keep a diary? Does any one of you keep a diary of the incidents in which any one of these skills come to action? And if not, please, from today onwards, start keeping a diary. And see this week, what did you add? It's your own analysis. Where did you contribute to some problem solving, even if it is of the fest? There will be problems there. Might be disputes also, uncomfortable things also. And how do you resolve it? Right? Make a note of it. So these skills you can't get away from. You have to have them if you want to call yourself a good manager. And as you rise in the hierarchy. Then, Beta, can you bring back the slide, 2 slides back? Still? Huh. Now look at all these professional skills. Would somebody answer me on behalf of everybody else whether they are required or not? Who says they are not required? Who says they are required? Does it make any difference whether you're a BBA, BCA, BTech or whatever? All of you require it. So there is no point in sort of remembering them and regurgitating them. But it's an everyday process. And as I keep on saying, this 3 years or this 2 years or this 5 years is something which is never going to come back. Never, ever. In terms of the time you have. He has rightly said, and all the people who are experienced rightly say, by all means become familiar with the social media and all that. But within social media, within LinkedIn, within other things, you have so many sources of knowledge now, which we didn't have. If there is something which strikes me at 2:30 in the morning, I happen to get up. I also did the same this evening. I went back to sleep at 3:30, and I did similar things. And then I realized that I am not able to go to sleep because what I have read has led to certain questions in my mind, and they're rotating in my mind. Right? Very bad time to look at social media. Be that as it may. Now, I will briefly tell you. People are asking about entrepreneurship. If you look at the early stages, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Altman, none of them is a graduate. All of them jumped the walls of their college and were doing work in the lab at night and then come out and so on. And started with very little money. Now that is where technology at the initial stages offers you. We go back to a company like Nokia itself. How many of you know which country the company belongs to? Anyone? Anyone? Not ma'am. Anyone knows this company Nokia comes from which country? If somebody asks you, yes please. Sweden. Ericsson comes from where? Okay. Then you have to go to the next question. Why did this product develop in Finland? It was not Sweden, it was Finland. Why did it develop there? And not in big, huge countries, USA, Canada, whatever. Set of lot of unconnected pieces of land. That's what Finland is. And your regular communication by the wire will not work. So somebody comes up with it. Next question. Did this company Nokia, after becoming number one mobile at that time, withdrew from the market? Any one of you? And why are we talking about this? And the agility which is required. Today you are the leader, you know that you will not be the leader, and how do you plan your return from there and get into what? Get into systems. Who bought Nokia's mobile business? Any one of you can recall? And why? Microsoft bought it. They sold it to Microsoft. Microsoft then sold it to a Finnish company. But they kept the license of technology with themselves. So the technology of mobile is given license to, this company's name I am forgetting, some initials are there. HMD. Ah. And Nokia is one of the largest system companies. Okay, the money is today made in systems. As far as mobiles are concerned, that is upper end, medium end, so on and so forth. Nokia by choice is in the lower end. By choice. This is the issue of product design. Now I come to this, that anybody can. Which degree does our friend Elon Musk has? Anybody? Does he have an MBA or does he have a tech degree or something? नहीं, उसमें भी आते हैं. We are in this technology era. We'll come to that. No, I'm not saying that you don't require a degree. They bloody well educated themselves. But how they did is a different matter. They educated themselves 20 hours in a day. It did not come, and same thing for Dhirubhai Ambani and so on. But there is a different story, and we'll come to that. Has anybody applied their mind or even able to search it? If you're so good and you spend so much time on social media, why don't you search and say what is the degree which Elon Musk has got? I'm asking you a question for a reason. He has SpaceX, which means space vehicles.
Sir, bachelor's in economics and bachelor's in physics.
Who?
Sir, Elon Musk is having.
Does he have a PhD?
No, sir.
Huh?
No, sir.
Okay,
He's
interesting.
having two bachelor's degree, economics and physics.
Right? So, how did he get into SpaceX? Almost neutralizing NASA. Right? How did he get into PayPal? How did he get into his Tesla? He is economics graduate and physics graduate. But if you learn it well, you can apply.
And also, the Tesla was a finished company which he bought after just selling off the PayPal. He divided part money and just bought the.
How did you get into PayPal? How did you become the entrepreneur for the PayPal?
Okay. So he actually started learning coding with his brother. He used to make the codings for the PayPal, and he used to even take bath at the YGCA, which is.
So therefore, we are talking about that there are certain generic skills, and those generic skills are to be able to study the market, where the gaps are, when will those gaps mature, which are the specific skills which need to be brought together for something, right? And then go further with it with certain kind of determination, because ups and downs will take place, right? So study of the history of technology itself is very important, right? Because many times in India, we are few cycles, few years behind, right, in the technology cycle. But that development will come. I will hold myself there to say that these skills are also extremely important. You again keep a diary and say that what is it that is happening to your own life where you are developing these skills, even when you are a manager, even when you go out, right? But I did not plan to speak that much, um, um, except that I feel that somewhere this realization is not there. So the entrepreneurship can come early, it can come late, it can come in terms of identifying gaps. Therefore, what it has been told in this particular classroom is that you look at the problems and chase the problems. Don't have a solution and then chase where I can apply it, right? Okay. With this, I pass it back for.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, as sir said that the question has to be crisp. So by following his guidance, my question is, when you were talking about technology and 4G and 5G, right? And the topic and the name of the session is expectation in industry. And we all know that when we are talking about expectation, it is related to and connected to perspective, right?
It is related and connected to
Perspective.
Perspective.
Right.
Okay.
So my question is, you are from Nokia. You mentioned Apple. So right now, in this generation, Gen Z or Alpha generation, our attention span is very less. Then how Nokia is competing with Apple and other companies for just, it is just a hypothetical question, because
So your voice is fading. So how the Nokia is
how
competing with
Nokia,
Apple?
how Nokia is competing with Apple in comparison of this generation, because in the end, for the next 5 years, we are the ones who are going to be your customers. So how you guys gonna get customers?
Okay. So let me fragment this question into multiple domains. So first thing is your good name?
My name is Arshan.
Harshan. So Harshan, first, Apple is not a competition to Nokia and vice versa. Both are in different domains. So Apple goes into consumer wearables and to the devices of iPhone, EarPods, Mac and other things. Whereas Nokia is different into the system side of it. So, and you know, that is always a good part that you also actually know and study about the company, what the companies are doing about. So Nokia in today's time is actually a kind of a vendor for the service providers and also the enterprise. So we are into a different league altogether. We moved out of the handset business in 2009 when, as Dr. Rakesh said, that Nokia, we sold off the handset to it to Microsoft, and then Microsoft further sold it off to HMD. So we are not anywhere related to the handset division. So from that per se, Apple is not a competition to us, and vice versa. So that's the first thing. But however, I would relate the second part, that how Nokia is trying to have this, new generation of youngsters, Gen Zs and Alphas and others with with a short attention span, and so all the vendors and the companies are actually facing the same challenge. It's not something unique for Nokia. It's not something different for any competitive world that we would have. It's the same. There is a bit of a difference of how the generations have evolved. The generations which were elder to us had a different approach to life. The generation in our age, like I'm in 80s, so 80s born, so had a different perspective to life, and the younger generation has a different. So the generations are changing, and as they are changing their needs, and the needs are basically coming from the support that you are actually being provided by the previous ones. You are getting my kind of, it's a bit of a philosophical thing, that our parents worked harder because they didn't had any other means to sustain a family. So you have your attention span is shorter because your needs are already fulfilled, right? So how the generations have evolved, because the older generations have actually worked harder to create the base and to fulfill the basic necessity, so the younger generation have their aspirational requirements. But in terms of the competitiveness, in terms of the challenges, I think all the industries in the same boat. There is no difference. We face the same challenge in other parts of the world, not specific to India. China has the same problem. Japan has the same problem. So Japan used to be a very labor intense market. They used to work like, I should not say a bad word, but they used to be very, very laborious, spending out like 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day. 8 is a minimum, but like 12 hours a day. Huh? 12 hours was basic. I mean, they used to take a nap in their office, a lunch followed by a short nap, and then they're back again. Now, the new generation is revolting against it, and they say that we don't want to work that hard. For what we are working? We want to live our own life. So the challenge is all across. Right? Any questions? Maybe the last one? Okay, then I think thank you everyone. And if you move to the last slide, last one more. So yeah, I have my LinkedIn kind of a thing. If anyone would like to connect with me, I have my ID here. I can drop in a mail ID also. You can connect with me. If you have questions, you can drop a message and I can try to respond back. I don't promise that I would be as fast, but I can try to be there. I can actually share my mail ID also. Then it would be easy if any one of you would like to drop a mail. Okay, thank you then.
Thank you, sir, for an insightful session. It's a privilege and honor to extend a heartfelt gratitude to our distinguished guest. As a part of our tradition, we felicitate our guest with a token of respect and gratitude. May I now request Honorable Professor Dr. Davendra Bahadur, sir, Professor of Practice Department of Management, and Honorable Professor Dr. Rakesh Khurana, sir, Advisor MERI, to present a gesture of gratitude to Mr. Amit Goel, sir.